What's going on, guys? Steve Pulaski here, coming back with another review, this time of The Host. What's going on, everybody? I told you I was going to pull a doubleheader this week, and let's get to it. The Host. Try and go to the plot for a second before I get into that. Just want to say, keep in mind that these reviews only serve as a companion. These video reviews only serve as a companion piece to my written review. If you want my full opinion, you're not going to get it here. You have to go to the written review, which will be linked below when it is live. Okay. So anyway, the synopsis of The Host is going to be a very difficult movie to explain, okay? So bear with me, guys. I apologize. Basically, it's years into the future. These aliens have attacked Earth, and they've seized much of the population. And the aliens are these little little glowworms, I guess you would say, with these little tentacles, and they've latched onto the spines of humans, and they have been able to manipulate and control the free will of the humans. And one of the people that gets that one of these glowworms gets attached to is a young girl. Her name is Melanie, and one of the glowworms is named Wanda, also called the Wanderer. And the glowworm gets attached to Melanie, and Melanie is shifted inside. She's still there, but Wanda has taken control of her body. Melanie is like the voice in her head now, sort of like this conscious thing. Melanie is played by a woman whose name I'm gonna butcher right now. Her name is, I think, Cyrese Ronan, I think her name. I don't know how to pronounce it, but she was in The Lovely Bones, I believe, and she was also in another one that I can't think of the name of. She's been in a couple things, though. But so what winds up happening, though, is now that her body is Wanda, but Melanie's in her head. She basically tries to go. Melanie tries to get Wanda to go back to her family, okay? And her family, her uncle is like this one of the last like survivalists. Their whole family is, and they're out in the middle of the desert. And then this love triangle opens up with these two young men, and that's kind of what it is. It's based on a novel written by Stephanie Meyer. And Stephanie Meyer, as you guys would know, or Stephanie Meyer, I believe, she wrote Twilight, the Twilight series. And then a lot of people ask me what I think of the Twilight series. I've only seen two of them. The first one I didn't have a problem with. The first one was okay. I never reviewed it because it was before I started reviewing movies. I liked it, though. It was an interesting movie. It had some good not even first time, like good performances for the most part, and a decent story. I liked it. It was all right. There were some parts about it that were weird, but I liked it. New Moon, I hated. I hated New Moon. I saw it in the theaters. It was jammed. I couldn't stand it. It was just a ridiculously melodramatic film, totally overblown, focused on the weakest part of the story, the guy's abs, okay? I had no interest in that movie. That movie lost me from the start. And I never saw Eclipse Breaking Dawn or the second part. So with this movie, The Host, where do I start? First off, it is 2 hours and 5 minutes long. It feels every bit as long, sometimes longer. This is a very dull, boring, robotic movie. And it's directed by somebody who I wouldn't even think would make a movie on those characteristics. Even though, hey, it's a guy's name is Andrew Niccol. I just reviewed his movie Gattaca upon seeing it a second time. I saw it for first time a couple years ago in biology, and I didn't really care for it. I didn't get it. I wasn't really paying too much attention, and I really didn't like it that much. But now after rewatching it again in biology too, I loved it. I thought it was a superb science fiction movie, totally focused on like liberal biotechnology and bioethics and where to draw the line. And that was a very gripping movie. And it had this kind of robotic quality to it, but the robotic quality was more so because it was supposed to be the humans were detached. I just wrote my review and read it to the class in biology, but it wasn't really like the actors were bad. It felt like the characters were living in this robotic world. Whereas with The Host, even though they're living in this pretty dull world, they feel just very robotic. You know what I mean? They feel very, the actors feel very, it's sort of clumsy. I hate to kind of criticize acting, but that's one of my jobs. Yeah, it just felt very clunky, and it felt very robotic a lot of the time. Cyrese Ronan, she's not too bad in this movie. She's alright, but she's not given really an interesting character. Her character's mainly subjected, and like her, I guess her authentic character is really subjected into the mind, and it makes for a lot of like internal and external conversation between Melanie and Wanda, and that leaves the movie very, it feels like it's very incessant and very annoying, and like it feels like two little brats arguing, and that's the problem. That's the initial problem I had with the movie, is that the arguments these two characters have are horrid. I can't stand them. They're obnoxious, they're overblown, they're silly, they're trivial, you know what I mean? And it's just because like they're arguing over just like little things, and then when you welcome in this love triangle, you realize you're watching the same movie as you saw in Twilight, only the characters are human. And that's my biggest criticism, is Stephenie Meyer. It seems like she's trying something new when she really isn't. She's still focusing on fantasy aspects mixed with romantic aspects, and it's a weird little niche genre. I mean that doesn't always work, and maybe I'm not the target audience for this, but I do believe that Niccol was trying to branch out with this movie. He was trying to make a movie that can be enjoyed by men, women, boys, and girls, whereas Twilight was very confined to the female demographic. Okay, I think the host is trying to appeal to both sexes, but I don't think it'll wind up pleasing either. And another thing too is when you're watching a movie like this that focuses on like a dystopian future, and it's got the plot of a romantic love triangle, you really start to just kind of sigh at the missed opportunities. Like there could have been a way, and this is going to be one of the first times I'm saying this personally, there could have been an interesting movie about the invasion, about the aftermath, or about the consequences of these glowworm things taking over the whole world, the whole planet Earth. But instead we get a very mawkish, a very uninteresting love triangle, and that really makes the movie take a drastic downfall in quality, just because of the fact that you're just kind of regarding the missed opportunity. They went for the story that really wasn't a good story to begin with, and that's the tragedy here. Some good cinematography, not gonna lie. There's a lot of instances where we see like flashy cars and everything, but even when like real flashy, like kind of chrome colored cars, they're very cool. It's like chrome colored Lamborghinis and motorcycles. That was kind of cool. I would like to see those cars in person. But overall, though, and the thing is, though, from what I'm hearing, it doesn't sound like anybody really asked for this movie, and I think that the people kind of spoke on that in the box office too. I think people were just like they read a lot. I know a lot of people read the book. It was a very popular book, but I don't think anybody really cared to see it adapted as a movie. You know what I'm saying? I don't think anybody really said like, we want a host movie like they wanted the Twilight movies. I just think that this was a book that should have stayed a book, and even from the box office return, I think it debuted at 5th or 6th with very middling returns. I don't think many people asked for this movie. Even when I was watching the trailer, and I said I could not be less interested in this film, and then I went and just saw it because there were some people asking me about it. So I said, you know what, I'll check it out. I don't have anything against Stephenie Meyer. The big thing with the Twilight movies, they're not for me. So it's very hard to grade something not for you. I can grade this movie harsher, I believe, because I believe this movie is trying to open up into two different genders, and it fails. It really does. I think this will appeal to it'll appeal to more girls than boys, and I think it's trying to do the same thing Hunger Games is doing, showcase a strong female character at the center of the action. And in this case, Hunger Games being Katniss, and Katniss, I wasn't a big fan of the Hunger Games either, but that was a much better, Katniss was a much better off hero than Melanie in this movie, or Wanda, whatever you want to call her. I mean, I don't know, very cockamamie, very strange movie, boring too. I'm telling you right now, this is one of the dullest movies I've seen this year. tedious as all hell, drags it tremendously in the second half. It just really starts dragging, and it's like an hour feels like an hour and a half. It just goes on, and it doesn't do the greatest job of explaining this plot either, I must say. And big disappointment from Andrew Niccol, who really worked wonders with Gattaca. If you haven't seen Gattaca, definitely check that movie out. That's my recommendation. I gave Gattaca 3.5 stars. I'm giving The Host 1.5 stars. Was going to give it 2. Thought about my complaints over, giving it a 1.5. Wish me luck. And then I will hopefully get out and see 42, the Jackie Robinson movie, and I might do a review of To the Wonder on Saturday night. Anyway, because that's coming on video on demand, and I'm very excited. Anyway, though, guys, thank you guys for watching. Sub if you haven't. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.